What is that thing? We haven't seen that in 4 days. Well, come on out, ladies, if you really feel so inclined. Hey everyone, my name is Matt and welcome back to the farm. Well, I want to tell you a little bit of a story, and it's going to start about 5-6 days ago when sun was shining and things are going good here on the farm. Then I realized I was getting low on cattle feed to the point where I only had enough for the next day or so. So Saturday morning rolls around for farmer's market. We head off to farmer's market. After that, we went and gathered all the ingredients I need to make a batch of cattle feed in a hurry, because I need to get it done that Saturday afternoon, because the next Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, they're talking rain, and I knew I wasn't going to have enough feed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is about 2.5, maybe 3 days worth of feed if I'm lucky. So if we only have 3 days worth of feed in that gravity wagon, and we said we ground feed, where's the feed that we ground? In that gravity wagon. So now you might ask yourself, why did we put the cattle feed in the gravity wagon that we normally would use for the pig feed and not back in the cow feed gravity wagon? Well, as soon as we use up what is left in that gravity wagon, the farmer that we get our ear corn from is getting ready to pick corn once it dries out from the 4 days of straight rain that we just had. Once it dries out and they can get in the field and start picking corn, they want to pick corn. Well, they have a little bit of reserve left in their corn crib, so we're going to take that gravity wagon and we're going to fill it with ear corn, so that way the next time we have to grind feed, we already have the ear corn here. It's already ear corn from last year that's already dried down perfect, and this way here it'll get their crib down lower and less residual that they have left in their crib. So that was the idea of putting the ear corn, ground ear corn, cattle feed in that gravity wagon this time around. As far as the cattle go, we're one less out here now. We loaded up the last steer we had, and he headed off to freezer camp yesterday. Loaded up real easy. It's probably the easiest one we've ever had to load, knock on wood here. Never even needed any grain to entice them into the barn. So she's the next one to go. She's going to be going here next month sometime. Don't remember the exact date off the top of my head, but once she goes, that'll leave us with possibly just these 5 around here. Not 100% sure yet. And then there's this thing, this 1720. So for those that have watched the videos on this tractor, the water pump was leaking right here in this area. So what I determined was it was leaking between the two halves of the water pump. the water pump housing and then the rear cover that goes on the water pump. So I took the water pump back off the tractor, took it in the shop, took the rear cover off the water pump, and the gasket itself that was on there was fine. I didn't see anything wrong with it. But what I did notice was the rear cover was warped, had a little bit of deflection in it. Not a lot, but enough that where I could see would cause a problem. So after some thinking about it and talking with the guy that owns the tractor, I ended up putting some RTV on both sides of the gasket, putting it back together, putting the water pump back together, and then putting the water pump back on the tractor and just letting it set for I think 4 days. Let that RTV set up, you know, cure, whatever you want to call it. Then I put antifreeze in it after the 4th day and let it set for another day or two. Didn't see any leaks. So I went ahead, fired the tractor up, and I ran it for about an hour and no leaks. So that part of it appears to be fixed. So the next thing we got to do is get filters for it. We're going to get the oil changed on it and get this back to him, because I got some other projects that are going to take some time to get done here. So I don't want this thing hanging over my head to, you know, it needs to get done. So we're going to get this thing done, get moved on from it, and move on to some other stuff. The 460 here. We had a little bit of an issue with it when we were grinding feed on Saturday. Got about halfway through, it was working great, and then all of a sudden, it's like you threw the PTO out of gear. I'm like, that's odd. So I grabbed hold of the PTO lever, and it was still in gear. So I took it out of gear, and I went to go put it in gear, and I had nothing. And I heard a pretty awful growl from the midsection of the tractor. See all that metal shrapnel? That's not supposed to be there. That gear, that's the driven gear for the PTO shaft. See the movement in that gear? That's not supposed to do that. And I don't know if you can really see it or not, but the drive gear way up in there, on top of that really big gear is a small gear. That gear's chewed all the heck too. So what happened was, on the end of that really big gear that's all loose, there's supposed to be a bolt with this washer. That bolt and washer hold that tight to the end of the PTO shaft that eventually runs out the back to the PTO assembly. Well, what ended up happening is that bolt backed itself out in what I'm going to call rather short order, and everything went haywire in there, and we've got gears that are destroyed. At least the drive gear for the PTO is destroyed, the driven gear, that big gear, is destroyed, and also the gear on the hydraulic pump is destroyed. So we got 3 different gears that we have to replace, and that's not going to be an easy feat from what I have figured out in my research. So here's the plan. So this tractor is going to live here in the shop for the winter. We don't really use it much throughout the winter. The feed grinder is about it, and that's what we got the Super M for, and probably even Stacy's tractor, because once this thing went down, I put my Farmall H on it and finished grinding with it, and I had done it before. So Stacy's tractor is in a lot better shape engine-wise than mine is to run that feed grinder. So we might just put her H on the feed grinder at some point. But anyways, we got some other work we're going to get done to this along with the transmission. The exhaust is got massive leaks at the exhaust manifold gaskets, so we're going to get a new manifold gaskets, get that all resealed up right. This pipe doesn't fit tight in the manifold, so we're going to get a new pipe. The charging system doesn't work. It did work, then it didn't work, and then it did. It was overcharging. I had to cut the wire one day because I could smell electrical burning. So the charging system don't work, so we're going to go through that A to Z. The seat needs to be replaced. Stacy and I are getting tired of pricking our fingers on the staples that they use to hold the foam back and all that. The seat's junk, so it needs to be replaced. So this old girl's gonna get some TLC done to it this winter, and it's not gonna roll back out this door until everything is done A to Z. So this will be a winter project that we'll be working on. Now that we're caught up with what's been going on the farm in the last 4 or 5 days, and it can't make up its mind whether the sun wants to shine or it wants to rain or do both, we're gonna work here in the shop on these hay wagon steering parts that I took off a couple videos ago, the spindle assembly and this tie rod. I'm gonna get this clevis off the end because I'm gonna go clevis shopping and see what I can find. And I gotta get this ear straightened around and see about welding it and get it cleaned up and just see how bad the crack is on it. Yeah, we'll set this over here for now. We'll get back to that later. And we'll get this in the vise because we got to warm this thing up. Hey, let's see if we can get this thing broke free. Looks like 9/16 bolt. And the length. Overall looks like 5 3/4. Looks like 5 1/4 to the center of the hole. Okay. Well, I'll have to see what I can come up with for a clevis. See if I can procure one locally or if I gotta do some shopping online and get one ordered. But at least we know what we need there, and we got it off of the tie rod with no problem. Everything's good here, so we should be able to reuse all that. So let's see what we can do with the spindle now. Well, I think we got somewhere. Well, that straightened around pretty good. I'm happy with that. And luckily we didn't bust this ear off of there. So all we gotta do is weld up a couple of these cracks and we should be good to go, but that's gonna be a job for another day. Let's go check on something. All the chickens are inside. They said to heck with this weather too. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Wasn't much today, but sometimes that's just how it goes. And the way the weather's been lately, there just hasn't been much going on the farm. We've been doing a lot of off the farm things, but with the way the weather forecast is looking for the next 7 days, back in the 60s and 70s and some sunshine, things will dry out and hopefully we can get back to some projects outside before the inevitable happens. We got a building project we got to get done and a few other things. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you like our channel, as always, we ask you to subscribe. We hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you next time.